Behold the sewing process of this lovely funnel corset, all right? Like I told you when I was drafting, you could make your sweetheart neckline deep, but I did not because I did not want my bust to show. I'm busty. All right, see how beautiful it looks. Now let's get into the process. All right, now I have gone ahead to cut my patterns rather on my fabric. I have interfaced them as you can see. Be sure to label your patterns in order to avoid mistakes. All right, now this is the over bust. Like I told you, you can make your sweater neckline deeper and you can come down from your arm side by 2 inches, then draw it to meet your under bust. All right, you could shape it, but I just wanted to do mine like this. All right, so let's get into it. You see now, I added fusible interface to this. I didn't want to use wording for the bustier part. I just added fusible interface, like 3 layers of it. So take notes of your bust points and join. All right. Do it at your pace. This is for the over bust, please. Always work with your measurement, your preferred measurement. All right. So I've gone ahead to do that. I'll do for the second side as well. If you have any questions, kindly leave it in the comment section. All right. So that is just it. I'm going to be notching where I have my bust point. Like I told you, you could reduce it if you feel you want your cleavage or your bust to show. You could reduce it. Now, this is for the inner parts. All right, I've gone ahead to pad the bustier area. Take note of your bust point like you see there. I'll notch it as well, like I did for the other side. All right, I'll replicate the same process for this other side. I've done that. I'm going to give it a good press. Now this is for the funnel area for the front. I've gone ahead to join this other side. I'll be joining this side as well. Please take note of your under bust, your waistline. Please just take note of it. All right. Then sew using 1/2 inch. I've gone ahead to join. I'll be doing that for the back as well. As you can see, my under bust is showing, my waistline is showing. I mapped them out. All right. Now what I did, some persons use a different fabric for their inside, but me, I used the same fabric. I used liquid Ricardo for both the lining and the fabric. All right. Then for the overbust, I used my damask. All right, and the lacing for the back, I used my damask. So be sure to iron it out when you're done. Now this is for the back. I'll go ahead and join. As you can see, for the lacing, I used my damask, as you can see. Hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. Be sure to give it a good press. Now this is for the yoke, the front and the back. Now I'll go ahead and join the shoulders together. Then I'll use my two net to turn. I always like using two net to turn. Now for the yoke, you could get your exact measurements and attach it to the over bust if you're very sure of it. If you're not sure of it, get your client to come for fitting. Let her wear it, then you pin it on the corset itself. All right. Like you can see, I'm going to be using the toe net now to turn. Do it at your pace. To my subscribers, you rock. Thank you so much. If you're new in this channel, you're welcome. Kindly like, share, and subscribe. All right, so I flipped it. Be sure to give it a good press to with a warm iron. Now, this is for the bust caging, although it's in my shorts, but I'll just be explaining it briefly here. I'm just mapping out the lines where I want to attach my boning. Now, I use the smallest boning, all right, for my vertical lines. Then I use the medium-sized boning for my horizontal lines. Please, this is the original boning, the boning you can sew on. All right. This bust caging is for the over bust, please. It's for the over bust. Now this is a medium size. I actually attached it to the where I have my bust point area, then my horizontal lines. All right. When sewing your bonings, please do not stretch. If you stretch, you're going to have a very flat work. Do not stretch your bonings while sewing. Allow it flow easily. You can increase the tension of your machine to 5. That's way you're going to sew very fast and it's going to be very neat. As you can see, you see how curvy it is already. I've not even ironed it yet. Now after this, I am going to be fixing my bonings on the front. All right. Now this is for the lining. That's the inner part of the corset. You see, I'm sewing the boning on it. There are different ways of sewing bonings. All right. I am sewing the boning on it. I did not create a boning channel. I am sewing the boning on the seam allowance. As you can see, I'll go ahead and give it a good press. Give everything a good press using my boss ham. All right. So take your time. Like I said, I'm sewing. When you're sewing your bonus, please be sure to give half an inch or 1 inch. All right, so you can hem properly. As you can see, I have given 1 inch. I'm cutting it. All right. So I'm going to be doing this. This is basically for the inside. I sewed the boning on the seam allowance. All right, and it's going to be appearing in the other part. But for the main fabric, look at it. You can see it's appearing now. Now for the main fabric, I am going to be sewing my boning invisibly. That's the second way of sewing bonings, all right? As you can see, I turned it like so. I'll just be sewing only on the seam allowance. That means it's not going to show on the fabric, it's just going to show on the seam allowance. Be sure to follow the shape of your seam, all right? So where you have the contours for your waist and your bust, be sure to follow it. Use the bones to follow it, okay? All right. It's not much of a tax, as you can see. It's invisible. It's not showing. It's not showing. So I'll use that to finish up for the main fabric. Like I told you, I'm using the liquid Mikado for both the lining and main fabric purpose. So the lining on I sewed on top of my seam allowance. Is going to be showing outside, but for the main fabric I sewed my boning on just the seam allowance. So this is the process of fleshing my bust caging. It's actually on my shirt. Now for the funnel area, this is the top area. For it to come out nice and standing, you have to sew a boning like this. All right, if you do not sew a boning, it will just lay flat on the over bust, if that makes sense to you. All right, if you do not sew a boning there, it's going to lay flat on the over bust, but if you sew a boning, it's going to come out. So now I'm going to be joining the side seams together. This is for my main fabric. Now join the side seams together, after which I am going to be attaching a regional boning. I'm going to be sewing it, all right, on the seam. Like I told you, you see it's already standing. Where you have the funnel area is already standing. So now for the side seams, I'm going to be sewing the boning on it. All right. I hope I'm understood. So now I am joining both the lining and the main fabric together. All right. You can use 0.5 inch to join. Now, for the purpose of the overbust, you can as well join the side seams inside this one as you're joining. All right, you could join it like this, or you could join it after sewing. You could tack it. All right. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying now. For the over bust, you could fix it inside now the side seam when you're attaching the funnel area. You can fix your over bust to the side seam and stitch down. All right, or you can attach it after sewing. You could untack it. And the other one, I told you, if you do not want the arm side area to show or to come out, you could trim it off following your bust. All right, your bustier, I will use that word bustier, your bustier pattern. You could trim it out like that and attach it. You can attack it to your funnel area. I don't know if I'm making sense. So I'm just trimming out the excesses. After which I'm going to turn. All right. Be sure to do it at your pace. Sorry for that. So I'm done now. I'm going to be turning. Now for the where we're going to be attaching the what would I say now? The eyelets area, you're going to be using a non-sewing boning. All right. So I'm going to be creating my channels. All right. As you can see, for the size of the boning, I'll just take like 0.2 inch, as you can see. So I'll be stitching it down. I've done that. Now what I'm going to be doing now, I'm going to be boning because this boning is actually stronger. All right. So I'll be fixing it in like this. I'll fix it in for the other side as well. The only difference between the front and back is just because I added my damask to the front. You can see how beautiful it is. Now for this, I am going to be stitching it down so that when I want to use my damask to, will I say, bias it or pipe it? I don't know. I don't know the right word to use now. It's going to stay put. All right. I had to measure all the sides. Be sure to measure all the sides equally before doing this, in order not to have a rough work. All right. If you have any questions, you can drop it in my comment section. So I've done that. I am now going to be measuring, all right, the length of this to the other side. All right, I'll measure it, then I'll cut a fabric 4 inches by the length. You can use 3 inches depending on your preference. I'm going to be using the damask to do this. So now I have joined it together, fold the beginning parts. All right, fold the beginning part, then stitch it. After stitching, you turn it and stitch the other side as well. It's just like you using a bias. All right, it's not much of a task. Now this is the already fleshed bust cage for the over bust. I am going to now be turning it with this damask. Remember what I told you, you could attach this before attaching the sides of the funnel corset, or you could do it like this and tack it, or you could come down by 2 inch, then marry it to where you have the under bust. Everything is going to enter seamly. Sure, do you understand? But I just decided to do it like this. So we're done with this. Be sure to give it a good press and use your bust ham when ironing, please. So now this is it. Remember I told you if you want your sweetheart necktie to come down more than this, you can. On busty, I didn't want to expose my bust. And again, you can as well shape your over bust like I told you to just show only your bustier area. Okay. So now you can attach your tool like this. Like I said earlier, you could attach it if you're very sure of the measurement. You could attach your tool like this, or when you're done with it, you could wear the tool, then and tack it on your client. All right. If you're embellishing, you could attack it on it and embellish. All right? But if you're very sure of your measurements, you're not going to make mistakes. You could sew it like so. All right. Then you see I'm adding this to it. Then I'll stitch it round. After stitching, I am going to be trimming the excess and I'll turn it. Then you can top stitch. You see this bustier area I'm telling you now, you could trim that thing off. But I left mine like this. Now this is just to pipe the under. Alright. Now when piping, some persons pipe and use this other part to attach it to the funnel corset. Alright. I don't know if you're understanding what I'm saying. So I'm done with this. What I'm going to be doing now, I am going to be attaching the back yoke to this funnel corset. Now you can adjust the stitch down the sides, all right, together, depending on your preference. So after attaching the back yoke, I'll just go ahead and do my eyelets, all right. I'll just fix my eyelets, and that's basically it. It's not much of a task. Like I said, if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. I'm going to be having some trainings so maybe next year by God's grace on different types of corsets. Alright, so this basically is